So another little thing I'd like to work on for Mr. T, ready, is working a bit with leash pressure. So for a lot of dogs, when they feel pressure on their gear, they tend to pull through it. And the reason behind that is a lot of times pulling is reinforcing. So I know I mentioned this a little bit earlier in one of the other videos. So if you're finding that your dog is doing a lot of pulling, sometimes switching them to a longer lead can be helpful, which we've mentioned for Mr. T. So a longer lead would allow him to walk at a little bit of a faster rate or go do some sniffing and help actually slow him down while working on that loose leash walking. But remember that if you're practicing with a shorter lead and you're trying to work on getting your pup to be softer on it, leash pressure can be very helpful to work on. So what I mean by that, so I'm just going to let him kind of do a little find it here and there. So some trainers will, out of frustration or agitation, do what's called a leash pop or yanking on gear. I'm not a fan of harming or surprising or scaring your dog to change a response. So what I mean by that is if your babe is having a hard time loose leash walking, I'm not going to pop them a leash pull as they're pulling ahead. The reason behind that, it doesn't normally teach your dog what you'd rather. It can sometimes actually just scare them while you're nearby. So your pup might start to create negative associations with you, with the equipment, with the things around them, and behavior might actually get worse, or you might even create learned helplessness. So what I like to do is with my puppy sort of in front of me, I'm going to get Mr. T's attention. I would do a little pull and feed. So what this consists of is I'm not pulling him across the environment. I'm not yanking him or trying to scare him. What I'm doing is I'm feeding him for every time he comes into my space after feeling some connection with the gear. So I do a little pull and feed. So you can see that for him, it's literally a little pull and I feed. So what I'm teaching Mr. T is when he feels tension on the gear, it means to check in. So the benefit of that is, let's say as you're walking, and let's say Mr. T were to get ahead and there's tension, notice how when he felt the leash, he did come and do a little check-in. So this can be really helpful. So if you tend to have a boy or girl that hauls and pulls, practice leash pressure equals come check in for a paycheck. So it's almost, again, right here, there was no leash pressure, but I'm also sometimes just feeding him for coming into my space. So this could also be beneficial because let's say your puppy, when they feel tension right there, yes, I feed him for coming back into my space. View it almost like someone's tapping you on the shoulder and then they let you know what they would like. That can be a form of communication. This shouldn't be a correction or startling or overwhelming. This should be as the puppy pulls and there's pressure, it teaches them that when they feel that tension to come back for another paycheck. So your leash should be nice and relaxed. So I normally recommend to start it again with your puppy in front of you. Have the leash short enough where you can feel them. Do a little pull and then feed. A little pull and then feed. And in the beginning, you're teaching your puppy that when there is tension, so right there as he pulls, notice how he does a little turn and he heads back my direction. I can then feed him for that bounce back. So again, with Mr. T, when you're working with loose leash walking and he gets in the habit of feeling that when he pulls, it means come back and check in, you can then start to feed those lovely moments and your puppy starts to always come back to you. Even on a long line, they get to the end and they feel the tension. They could then feel that and then be reinforced for checking back in from that leash pressure. So again, we kind of keep on moving with Mr. T. He's like, lady, I'm already exhausted from my big day at school. So I will again mark and feed the moments my puppy is doing a great job by my side. So again, if Mr. T is just working a little bit with that loose leash walking again, I'm going to feed him and capture these moments where I find it's very good and I want to keep maintaining that skill. So right there as he pulls, notice how he feels the tension. If maybe he needs a little potty break, which is completely acceptable, we can go out for another potty break in just a second. So for Mr. T, again, we're feeding for all the behavior we really want to maintain. So he finds there's value in trying to work these skills. So right there was tension, and notice how he turned and he came back to me and I didn't ask him to check in. So this is where, again, you want to start off with this behavior typically in front of you. And you could, again, feed him for as he feels the pressure. So again, a little pull and we feed. Nice. A little tug and we feed. So you notice that his body language doesn't change. We shouldn't be seeing any hesitation or fear or anxiety from these leash connection moments. So remember, not a correction, but a way to connect. So great little shake off, sir. So again, a little pull and we feed. Nice job. He's like, I didn't want that one. He says, I want my better lunch snacks. So again, he's doing a really nice job working through these skills. Yes. And he might be getting full too, like his classmates, because they've been earning their snacks. So right here, tension. And if, let's say, he didn't respond, Teddy, yes. So if your babe has a moment where the environment or the situation, or they're getting tired and they're a little bit less responsive, you could, for example, help them. So the help could come in the form of asking for his name, maybe doing a little kissy noise, so that little positive interrupter. For some of them, that's a great way to bounce back. So let's say he's a little distracted, he didn't respond well to the feeling of the leash. We could go again and do that little kissy noise and then feed for that lovely response. But again, Mr. T says, guys, there's weird noises in this building, huh? So we'll go ahead, we'll give Mr. T a little breather, but I would highly recommend to practice leash pressure for all of the babes. So remember that with the videos, even though your pups are enrolled for their particular skills, a lot of them flow in and out. So you may find watching all of the students' videos through the day to be very helpful, because we may have worked a lot of skills with them while they were here, but not all of it was videotaped. So I tend to try to go for the main goals or the main helpful behaviors or skill sets and go from there. So if, again, your babe is still struggling with certain things, you can always update me with other topics you'd like to touch base on. So for Mr. T, he's like, guys, there's some weird noises in this building today. But keep maintaining, keep rocking these little dynamics with your babes, and they will continuously keep progressing. So Mr. T, for his first day at Doggy Day School, I think he did a really, really great job working his big boy skills. So nice job, Mr. T. So practicing with both his longer lead earlier and his shorter leash right now. So good job, sir. We'll take a little break.